Good evening. It is June the 18th. We are at our Finance Committee. Welcome, and we'll go ahead and have roll call.
Mayor St. John.
Here.
Mr. Keppel.
Here.
Mr. Ayer. Here. Mr. Grumney.
Here.
Mr. Martin.
Here.
Ms. Cooper. Absent. Mr. Neff is absent. Oh, nope, there's Mrs. Cooper.
Say here real quick, would you?
Here. Six present.
Okay.
Great minds, Steve.
All right. Thank you very much. It looks like the first thing on the agenda is a debt profile annual executive summary. So,
Can I do the minutes?
oh yeah, I suppose. I mean, I was gonna circle back. But if you want to do it now, that's fine. We can. Just kidding. Yeah, good catch. So yeah, let's go ahead and do approval of the minutes from the May 15th, 2024 meeting. Can I
Is
get
the
a
right set of minutes in there? Motion to approve.
17th?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, they are. I did
just the
not
wrong
do that.
date.
I'm sorry.
Good catch. All right, so that should just read May 15th, not April. Okay. So assuming that correction, are there any questions about the minutes, any concerns or, okay. Can I get a motion for
I
approval?
already made
Oh,
it.
you did? Oh, okay, second.
Second.
All right, thank you. Roll call?
Mr. Martin.
Yes.
Mr. Ayer. Yes. Ms. Cooper. Yes. Mr. Grumney.
Yes.
Mayor St. John.
Yes.
Mr. Keppel.
Yes.
6 yeas.
Okay, well, maybe we'll go over it again then. Sorry about that. The debt profile annual executive summary.
Yes, thank you. As most of you probably recall, last June in 2023, we had officially adopted a debt policy for the city of Sunbury. And in accordance with that debt policy, annually, the Director of Finance is to prepare and present to the Finance Committee a complete executive summary of the city's current debt profile. And there's a list of items that are to be included in that debt profile listed within the policy. And so I went ahead and prepared the debt profile on page 5 of your packet. And these are the items that are required to be presented to Finance Committee and reviewed annually. So the very first item, we have current outstanding general obligation debt by issue. So we have approximately 6 or 7 items there listed out by project with each original amount borrowed, each interest rate, term, ending date, and the outstanding principal balance as of today. The second item, we have current outstanding special revenue debt by issue, and this includes TIF debt, the cemetery land acquisition bonds, and the OWDA loans. They are all listed there with the interest rate and corresponding end terms and outstanding principal balances. The third item, we have our direct debt limit calculation. This is the addendum to the the debt policy rather. And I've updated this information for the 2023 city's assessed value. And that value of $307,453,220 is assessed by the county based on property values in the city of Sunbury. And then we have the voted maximum allowable, which is 10.5% according to our policy. So that's just a calculation based on that city's assessed value. And then an unvoted maximum allowable of 5.5%. And then we have what we currently have outstanding for unvoted general obligation debt, which is the 3.8 million. We have no voted general obligation debt. And the unvoted general obligation debt exempt from the limit and subject to the limit is all listed there as well. So if you have any questions on any of those calculations, I'll be happy to research that and get back to you if you have specifics on that. But this is all according to our debt policy and sets limits on what we can maximize or the maximum that we can borrow. Going down the line, we have internal debt obligations. We have none of those, so none to be listed there. Number 5, we have no existing loans through state or local agencies. In item number 6, I've listed out our leases that we currently have. We currently have 3 leases. We have a Pitney Bowes postage meter and several copiers, and the terms and the end dates of those are listed for you as well. And finally, the current S&P rating report is attached to the debt profile for your convenience. You may recall that this was received in September of last year, and we have an AA plus rating. So that is there for you to review as well if you so desire. And that is our annual executive debt summary. I'd be happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Anything stand out that kind of just caught you off guard or you thought, oh, that's different or unusual?
Nothing really stood out to me as to be unusual. However, it is noted that we will be going into more debt for the OWDA for the wastewater treatment plant coming up in the very near future. So that debt will be listed under number 2, the current outstanding special revenue debt by issue. So expect for that to be increased significantly next year when I do this annual debt summary again. Other than that, we're well within our limits for what we can borrow, so we're in good shape there.
Any other questions from Stefan? Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And I think I'm assuming, do you stay on the mic for the credit card policy rewards?
Yes.
Okay.
Another policy that we've adopted last year is the credit card policy, and in accordance with this policy, as you can see in page 11 of your packet, highlighted at the very bottom of that page, where it says rewards, at least annually, the Director of Finance must report to council all rewards received based on the use of the city's credit card account. We did receive a $100.00 check from the credit card company that was received April 25th of this year, and that was for the entire year's rewards. So
What do we do with that money, just out of curiosity? Is
it
that,
was deposited into the miscellaneous revenue line in the general fund. So it can be used for anything general fund related that's approved by government.
Like for the air conditioning for this room.
yeah.
I
Good place
second
to start.
that. Jeez. We've had this
Certainly.
problem in a while.
My house doesn't have AC
Oh, wow.
right now.
So yeah, those 2 items that I just went through, I'm just, housekeeping, making
Yeah.
sure that we're keeping in line with the policies that we've established.
Awesome. Thank you very much for that. Okay. Any questions about the credit card policy rewards? Okay. Municipal building furniture purchase. Daryl, I think this is now turned over to you.
It is. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mhm.
So beginning on packet page 12, I've put in the packet a memo for the members of the committee, in addition to a layout for the furniture proposed for the municipal building. So just backing up a little bit, we've been talking about the facility project for some time now in terms of the construction of the renovation of the buildings. We had budgeted in last year's 2024 budget cycle funding for furniture for both the police building and the municipal building. And now we've gotten to that point where we're talking about furnishing both buildings. So I know we've talked a little bit about what we were doing with the police department. The police chief was able to secure some donated furniture from the sheriff's office that we're going to be able to use to help furnish the police department. But we had engaged Dupler Furniture, a company that actually has some Sunbury roots attached to it, to help us with any furniture needs that we might have. So we shifted the focus to principally the municipal building after the police chief had identified the other office furniture that he was able to secure. Just a little bit more on that. The chief and I did go over and look at the furniture that was available through the sheriff's office, ultimately determined that given the number of office suites that we need to furnish down at the police department, we really felt like taking that furniture, taking the best pieces of that furniture and putting it together would basically provide the office furniture that the police department needed. But it would not provide enough furniture to basically furnish all of the municipal building, private offices. It might have furnished maybe 1 or 2, but it certainly wouldn't have furnished them all. And so rather than have, this mix match of furniture in a building that's maybe a little bit more forward facing than any other building, or of the 2 buildings, we decided that what we would do is take the extra furniture, We will either leave it at the round table or the round top for the service team when they move into that facility. Or we'll take it down into the basement of the municipal building to basically provide for some future growth there. So what you have then in your packet is a furniture proposal for the municipal building, and it's a proposal for all of the furniture. So included on packet page 13 is a layout of the furniture itself. So as I've indicated in the memo, this is furniture for all of the spaces, the interior, or I'm sorry, the entryway, the conference room, both large and small. There's a break room in here. There are 5 private offices. And then the other space, principal space, is the open workspace, which includes at least one sort of workstation, and the others are working off of countertops and what have you. So those are all the spaces. And this includes, as I've indicated, all of the furniture. So it's bookcases, it's storage files, it's, again, every piece of furniture that we've identified for this space. The proposal is $89,302.14. As I indicated in the memo, that is for everything. So that's the furniture, it's the delivery, it's the design costs associated with working with the furniture company. It's managing the delivery of that, and it's also then installing and assembling the furniture. So it is the full package. The other thing I note in the memo is that all of the furniture will be purchased off of a government collaborative purchasing portal. Omnia Partners is the name of the organization. The city has been a part of that group for some time. And what that really means is that they've already gone out and competitively bid the furniture. So it's the best price you can get as a governmental organization for the furniture that we're purchasing. Maybe the final thing before just asking if there are any questions, the overall project budget, the amount of funding proposed for furniture in both the police and the municipal building is just a little over 3% of the total cost of the project. So it really is a pretty modest number when you think about that. This is commercial grade furniture, so it is designed to last. It is certainly designed to, for a lot of wear and tear use. And so I would say it will last decades, and by decades I mean at least 2, maybe not much more than that. But and when you think about this spread over, that period of time, it's a pretty modest cost, I think. So staff's recommendation is hopefully that you would agree to proceed with the purchase or to place the order. We need to place the order pretty quickly in order for it to be delivered and installed, when the building opens. So, and it is within the budgeted amount that council had set aside at the beginning of the year. So, questions or comments?
This might not be,
No, go ahead,
excuse
please.
me. This might not be exactly furniture, but do we need to purchase any new media equipment for the conference rooms?
So included in the budget that you've given for both the police and the municipal building, we did have money set aside to update the TVs in those buildings as well. So, and we've got adequate money to purchase new TVs for that. Yeah. So we'll have a new TV or monitor, I guess, in the big conference room and the small conference room.
Thank you.
Good question,
At
Cindy.
least for
That's-
the municipal building.
I was just gonna say office furniture is very expensive, and I think for the durability and those, for those reasons, for understandable reasons, but I want to point out just again, what staff did as far as being fiscally responsible and throughout this project and coming under budget. And also a savings, as you point out in your memo, Daryl, of $40,000 from using the furniture from the sheriff's department. So if I did my math right, that's about $50,000 in savings from 10 under the budget and then 40 from the
Yeah.
sheriff's department. So again, those are big numbers when you look at it from an individual standpoint, but it's very fair for the market. And then the step that the staff took to go ahead and save money in that area, I think you should be commended for that. Again, I think that's just looking out for the city and making sure that we have quality product, but making sure that we're spending our money wisely. So, and I know I hear you about the urgency because we don't want to move into new buildings without furniture. That's kind of uncomfortable. So,
Amen to that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments about the furniture?
Totally agree.
Yeah, very good.
That is a good price. 'Cause
Yeah.
pricing out furniture to redo our office suite at work, and it's significantly more than
Yeah.
that, so.
Good, good. I think we were happy with the work of the Dupler folks. They did a nice job.
Okay,
Okay, so this will be on the council agenda for later this evening then for action.
okay. And I think it looks like we go to Sunbury Estates, and I'm near and dear to, I think, Damon's heart.
All right.
Concrete and tree contractors.
Yes, so this is in the packet as information tonight. I'll bring it to the council for action at the next meeting, but I did want to let you know that we have gone out and got pricing to both replace the sidewalks and to remove the trees, and to remove the trees, grind the stumps, take the debris away, that type of thing. So in your packet are the lowest price proposals that we have for both. Concrete One Construction, just a little short of $21,000 to do the sidewalks that we've already identified as needing to be replaced. I would anticipate that we will start with this contract and do the sidewalks in the summer. Then wait for the trees to leaf. Well, they've leafed out. I mean, once they've dropped their leaves, we'll then focus on taking the trees down later this year. I will say the $25,000 combined for the two is well below what we had budgeted for this project this year. It's about half of what we put in the budget, so it's really a good price. I would say that we did get one other proposal on each one of these. The sidewalk proposal was about 25% higher than the one you see in front of you, and the tree proposal was about 50% higher than the one you see in front of you. So we have done the due diligence on this as well, just to ensure that they've got adequate insurance and what have you for and work insurance, general business insurance, and employee health, or not health, but workers' comp insurance. So yeah, basically just wanted to let you know where we stand with this. We'll bring it back. At least the sidewalk proposal requires council action because it's above the spending authority. The tree level is below the mayor's spending authority, so we probably don't need to bring that one back.
For
So,
good news.
yeah.
Okay.
So I think the next step on this is we will send a letter to all the residents that will be impacted. We've identified them. I think we have the addresses. We'll need to send a letter. We'll send a letter, remind them of what the plan is, which is to replace the sidewalk. If the concrete contractor experiences a root of any sort under the sidewalk, they'll cut it at that point. So that is also kind of the beginning of the end for the tree itself, but we'll alert the residents to that. I think it says 28 trees. That's the number we had identified last year. Again, it might be a little bit higher. We said we would go back and take one more check this year before we engage the contractors. So, and I think I maybe indicated, we have had a couple of residents who have reached out and asked to have their tree removed, even though their sidewalks not an issue. They're just trying to anticipate or plan ahead, I guess, for what they think is the inevitable. So, which is the offer that we had made last year.
And Dale, refresh my memory, this is at no expense to the resident, is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, okay.
And at the end, I will say this, we will replace the tree, or we will place another tree, I should say, in the tree lawn. We'll work with the city arborist to identify the tree type. And we'll certainly work with the resident to get that back in place. We've gone back and forth, remember, out the placement of that. I think at the end of the day, we determined that we would just stay out of the front yards of the individuals. So we'll stay in the public portion for all of this work.
Are we planting bonsai trees this time? Just
I don't think so.
Keep it safe. All right. All right. Any questions about the trees or concrete?
All right,
Awesome.
great. Thanks.
All right. So I think we may be back to Ms. Steffen about the Rita subpoena program update.
Thank you. I wanted to provide a final update on the Rita subpoena program. As you recall, in 2023, City of Sunbury elected to participate in both the non-filer and the subpoena program. And I have a little breakdown on page 16 of your packet on how we've ended up. And some of this I've discussed at the last finance meeting, so I won't go into much detail there, but I wanted to also point out that we have a choice in front of us on, we can take some action or we can choose to not take any action on the non-responders. basically we had 819 individuals that have not responded to the non-filer letter and the subpoena. So basically what that means is we have potentially unidentified tax revenue to be collected from those 819 individuals. We do not know what that dollar amount is simply because these individuals haven't responded. They may not owe us anything. They may have moved out. Rita may have some incorrect information. Various reasons could be the reason that they don't owe anything, or they could owe us a large amount of money. We can't know until they respond and we get a tax filing from them. So I believe I told you some incorrect information at the last meeting, and so I do want to correct that and apologize. Since COVID in 2020, Rita no longer sets a date to come out to the municipality and set up sort of a mayor's court where they would call individuals to come in and set up a payment plan to pay their taxes. Since they no longer do that, they are not charging us the $8 per subpoena. I did not realize that they had stopped doing this program. They only charge $1 for the non-filer letter and the subpoena program. So it was a much lower cost for us than I initially had stated. So I wanted to get that corrected and also let you know that with those 819 non-responders, I did provide a little sample listing on page 18 of your packet. So you can kind of just see what information we're dealing with here. If we wanted to take some action, for example, send a letter from the mayor's court clerk asking these individuals to come to a mayor's court session or respond to the letter in some way, all we would have is a street number, which was redacted from this information, and a name, which was also redacted for sensitivity purposes. So as you can see, we aren't working with a whole lot of information here. And these individuals have already been contacted or attempted to be contacted by Rita, and these individuals just did not respond. So we can either, like I said before, either do nothing and just let these exist and be out there, or we can send some letters. So I'm looking for some guidance and maybe more discussion if you have more questions about the whole process. So I wanted to leave that with you and see where we land.
But maybe just to be clear, so they don't conduct the hearing anymore. It would be incumbent upon us to do that.
That's correct.
We would use maybe the mayor's court. Is that the model?
Yes.
Yeah, just so you know, that would be potentially the process.
Yes, that would potentially be the process. So I also will add the balance to be collected in this table. It's on page 16. It's just under $260,000. Rita is going to follow its normal collection process for those unpaid balances. So it's identified, the taxpayers have responded and submitted a filing. So they've identified this total cumulative amount to still be collected. Rita is not just going to let that sit. They're going to work actively with their legal team and their collections department to actively collect those on our behalf.
Real quick, so that money you just spoke of, the 200 and something, that includes the 819 that we haven't, that does not, they're separate.
It does not, yeah. And the reason is because we cannot quantify
Gotcha.
or identify how much.
Okay, I'm sorry. So, okay. Actually, Mayor, I think you had.
I was just gonna mention this, I'll start philosophically. Philosophically, I think we need to continue to try to reach out to these folks. It's only, first of all, these were or are our neighbors. But you know, it's 800 or so, is that what you said?
Mhm.
I mean, there's 8,000 people that are paying taxes, and there were services utilized, whether it was our roads or call by the police or any of the services that we provide. So I think philosophically, we need to continue to try to reach out to them. Second of all, I mean, if the folks don't respond, we don't have any opportunity to negotiate, you know, payment plans, potentially waiving penalties and fees. So the longer that goes on, you know, I think we owe it to the entire community to continue to pursue getting resolution. I mean, I looked at the years that we're talking. I mean, some folks haven't paid taxes for 5, 6 years in a row. That can be significant. So I think we have to do that. And then just on the grace side, I think when folks do come forward, we, try to work with them on how do we get this resolved.
Thank you for that. That's helpful to know.
Yeah, I would agree to the mayor's point, because the people that did come forward after receiving the letter, they took care of what they need to take care of, these 819 having. I think it is just a fair, equitable thing to continue the same expectation and, let them know that they owe the city, what they owe. So I agree.
Okay. I'll go ahead and work on, an action plan to go ahead and reach out to these 819 individuals. I did already discuss this briefly with the chief of police to see if it was something that he would be, okay with doing in the mayor's court realm. And he mentioned potentially having the clerk of courts send out an initial letter. And I think that, as opposed to a letter coming from the regional income tax agency, if an individual who lives in Sunbury or did live in Sunbury receives a letter from Sunbury clerk of courts, they may be more inclined to respond. So I'll go ahead and start that process to follow up.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I think that
Thank you.
takes us to the 22-23 audit update.
Thank you. The end of May, we had our auditors from Perry and Associates come in and conduct a biennial audit over our financial statements. And in your packet, starting with packet page 19, you will see the closing letter for the audit. And this is going to require some signatures that I will need to gather this evening after council meeting to send off to them. But I do want to go through the audit results so that you all can be aware of what was found. And there are a few items that do need to be changed and adjusted, some minor things. So I will direct you to, first of all, we'll go to page 25. This is a letter that will need to be signed and returned only if council requires or would like to request a post-audit conference call with the auditors. This is something that all auditors do offer to every auditee. You don't have to take them up on it, but if you would like to have a post-audit conference call, it would be most likely via Zoom or a Teams meeting with the audit team and whoever would like to be involved in that. So if anyone has a desire to do that, please let me know before the end of the day today, and I'll get this signed and returned to them. On the next page, page 26, this is just an acknowledgement of all of the required communications that the auditors had to communicate with me. And they're looking for a signature on this that we've received this communication and acted in accordance with how we're supposed to respond. So that's just a standard form. Page 27 is where we start with the audit findings. So this is going to be the meat of what we're going to discuss tonight. Page 27, we have the first one is a material weakness, and this is over financial reporting. In the box down at the middle of the page, it talks about some motor vehicle license tax, gasoline tax, and permissive motor vehicle tax not being correctly allocated to the street, state highway, and permissive motor vehicle license tax funds. And the second bullet point states the mayor's court fund balance and activity was not presented as a fiduciary custodial fund. Just to kind of break these items down for you, the percentage of allocation for the different funds for the state highway and the street taxes, it was just a little bit skewed of what it should have been. So that's been corrected and will be corrected going forward. It was just a minor adjustment. The mayor's court fund balance, we did not have a separate fund for mayor's court. All of that activity was being flown through the general fund, flown into the general fund. So I went ahead and created a custodial fund for mayor's court. And starting with this month, I'll be making sure that all of the appropriate mayor's court transactions flow through that fund specifically and not through the general fund. Any questions on those items?
That item wasn't caught by our state auditor in the past 20 years.
It wasn't.
Okay.
It's kind of a shocker. The auditor mentioned, I don't know why the state didn't mention this before, but they didn't.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, any other questions before we go on to the second item? Okay. The second item is on page 28 of your packet. This is a non-compliance. This is a standard non-compliance item for, since we're not on the GAAP basis. So as you know, we are moving to the GAAP basis starting in January 1st, 2024. That period is not included in the audit period that was just done. So this is a standard comment for non-compliance because we were not presenting on the GAAP basis. This comment will go away with the next audit because we will be on the GAAP basis going forward. Any questions on that? Okay, next is page 29, non-compliance in the disbursements. This is basically purchase orders, blanket certificates, super blanket certificates, and then and now certificates. I will draw to your attention that the third paragraph from the bottom where it says the city did not properly certify the availability of funds. And this is all for 2022. This specific issue was corrected 2023 and forward. So it will no longer be an issue. But since 2022 was a part of that biennial audit, it's included as a audit comment. Are there any questions on that? Okay. I can slow down if you guys need some time to read.
I think you're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is the last item of non-compliance for the audit. And page 30 of the letter, this is a listing of the fund balance adjustments that were required by the audit. As I mentioned before, from the first item of material weakness, we had differences in the street, state highway, and permissive tax funds that needed to be corrected. So this is just a listing of the adjustments that I have made to the system as of today, actually. So going forward, this will all be clean and properly accounted for. The next two pages are,
May I?
yes,
So in other words, when you add the two bottom numbers and put it together with the negative number at the top, it becomes a zero.
correct.
Okay,
It's simply transferring money between funds or
Right.
among three
Okay.
different funds.
Thank you.
That's all it is. The next page is 2022 summary and evaluation of misstatements. These are mainly related to mayor's court and the street funds as previously discussed. These are recommended entries that we can make to correct the financial statements for those misstatements. They are all quite minor, nothing major. Again, just moving from one fund to another and creating that new mayor's court fiduciary fund. And the same thing for 2023, mayor's court, street fund, state highway, and permissive fund, just transfers between funds there. So in summary, those are all of the items that are going to be noted in the audit report. I did not have the audit report included in the packet. It was 101 pages. It is, however, available on OneDrive for you to go ahead and access if you would like and read through it. You are more than welcome. It has a lot of notes to the financial statements and all of the financial statements for 2022 and 2023. 101 pages. So if you want to read that, you're more than welcome to. All of the non-compliance and material weakness items that are in there are what we just went through. So there's nothing else that's of non-compliance or out of the realm of what should be reported and how.
Seems like a pretty clean audit, honestly, and most of the items the exception, I think you already said the mayor's court fiduciary fund was in process of being created.
Yes.
So that's good. The one thing I was gonna ask, on the management letter and the recommendations in the back, it looks like there's several recommendations focused on IT, cyber security, cyber training. Are we gonna create like a backlog of items that we can focus on over the next year? So,
Thank you. Yeah, I was going to get into the management letter next, so that's a great segue. So the management letter is recommendations from the audit team to management, and this starts on page 33 of your packet. There are some items of non-compliance down at the bottom, and these aren't audit findings. These are just, they don't rise to the level of anything that would be required to be reported on the audit report. That's why they're in this management letter, which is kind of a lesser statute. So we have the mayor's court remittances there in number 1. Number 2, Fiscal Integrity Act. This is my fault. I forget to record my trainings. However, you guys know I am a CPA, so I do get my 40 hours every year. So I am technically in compliance, but I just forget to log it onto the auditor of state. So I'll make sure I do that going forward. Item number 3, the budgetary level of control. This goes back to how we are appropriating items every year. Prior to 23, we were not approving them at the fund level. I'm sorry, we were only approving them at the fund level and not the object and department level. I've changed that process in starting with 2023, so that is no longer an issue. And it even states in this that the city did correct this non-compliance in 2023. Number 4, sunshine law compliance. This is simply because we didn't have a poster describing the public records policy. So we're going to make sure we go ahead and get that displayed. The recommendations follow next. And as the mayor mentioned, there are several IT items. These were items that were identified by the state audit that was done over 2020 and 2021. They haven't been completely addressed at this point, so they're a repeat comment in this management letter. So we are working with Tony with Edge, although he is very busy at the moment working on lots of other things for the police department and the municipal building. So I do have a plan in place to make sure that we are following up on these and getting these recommendations in place. And with that, believe that, oh, sorry, we do have a couple other things on page 36. These are the last 2 items in the management letter. Number 5, estimated receipts and appropriations. This is regarding budgetary data and appropriations. There were a few little minor, I guess, inaccuracies between what was budgeted and what was appropriated. So based on what the auditor told me, this is a comment that 95% of entities get, so it's not uncommon, but it is something that I don't want to have happen again, so I'm going to make sure that I am on top of that. Finally, number 6, utility adjustments. The recommendation is that the city should implement a formal policy and procedure when approving adjustments to the sewer bills. Currently, our utility billing clerk will modify bills based on if a customer is, for example, watering a lawn or filling a pool, they'll get a credit for their sewer bill based on their water usage. Because if they're using water to fill a pool, that water isn't going down into the wastewater treatment plant. So therefore, they shouldn't be assessed any sewer charges for that. That's the basis of the adjustment. We do not have a formal policy in place for approving those. The auditor recommended that the city administrator be the one to make sure that that gets approved. So I'm going to work with Mr. Hennessy and make sure that we have a formal policy in place moving forward. And that is the end of the audit.
Okay, thank you for going through all that. Very thorough. I know I sound like a broken record on the disaster recovery, as the mayor was pointing out, in the cybersecurity, but you know, robbers don't wear masks anymore. They get on a computer and press the keypad. So I think that, that's an area that's a little bit more expensive to get into. It's probably a good investment because, you know, trust, integrity and keeping our, you know, our city's information and our, citizens' information safe and the dollar safe is really a key priority. And I just need to make sure we put ourselves in the right position to, safeguard that stuff. So. Very good. But thank you for any other comments on the report? We're all looking a little flush.
A lot of information here.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I think that then moves us on. Thank you to the, our, monthly year-to-date comparison reports and the bank to book reconciliations.
Thank you. These are the standard items that I go through at every finance committee meeting, so I don't have anything that I need to call out, bring to your attention. Feel free to go ahead and look through all of the revenues that we've received. We are collecting higher than anticipated right now as far as budget for our income tax, always a good thing. For our interest income is still high, so going strong there. Revenues are just either right in line or where they should be, or even above where they are expected to be for the 90% of the funds. As far as expenses go, starting on page 40 of your packet, I have all the expenses. There are a few departments that are trending high, still within budget, but trending high. And I'll continue to monitor those. At this point, I don't have any appropriation adjustments to put in front of you, but there will be at least one more for a certain small minor item that I do need to get corrected before the end of the year. And as we know, other items just inevitably come up. So there will be another appropriation adjustment for the year, just not at this time. Nothing else really to call out. I'm happy to answer any questions on the expenses. You also have the year-to-date fund report on page 45, so you can see where our funds are landing, and also the check report so that you can all see which companies and vendors we've been writing checks to for the month, and happy to answer any questions on those.
Thank you for those reports. Any questions from Stefan on either of those topics? Okay, all right. Well, thank you very much as always. And let's see here. We have the year-to-date income tax collection by category. I think was that the last thing that you wanted to?
Yeah, that's the last thing. And we're still trending very positively. We have a 22% increase over year-to-date 2023. So we see that growing trend year over year. We continue to see that growing, so that's very good. The net profit is also continuing to grow, which is something that it's a smaller piece in relation to the withholding tax or the individual, but it's an important one. So that's growing, and that's good. Good news.
Wonderful. Any questions on the year-to-date tax income collection? Okay. Well, I thank you again for all that you presented. I appreciate it. And I think that brings us to a conclusion. And are there any other comments or questions before we wrap this meeting up?
I'm looking to make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, motion by the mayor. I'll second. Roll call, sorry.
Mayor St. John,
Yes.
Mr. Rooney,
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper. Yes. Mr. Martin,
Yes.
Mr. Yes. Mr. Capel.
Yes.
68, we are adjourned.
Thank you.